Good evening. Welcome to The Sacred Journey. The Sacred Journey is the program that reminds you that life is a wonderful adventure and each and every experience we have is a unique and perfect opportunity for learning. I'm Joyce St. Germaine, and tonight's program is Expect the Unexpected. Donald Trump gets a reading. And we're doing this with sort of an open and light-hearted attitude. And I am so thrilled to be Skyping in my dear and I don't want to say old and give you the wrong idea, but as friends we go way back, way, way, way back. And to tell you how far back, I was a brunette when we were first, I think, colleagues up here in cohort. So I'm so happy to have Hattie. Hattie's an astrologer, a numerologist, a tarot reader, an extraordinarily insightful human being. So Hattie, I know you are so busy. I'm so thrilled that you agreed to Skype in, where you live down in Florida. And you have so much going on, and you're so gifted and talented. You're the name that everybody knows when they need work like this. And before we get started on a reading for Mr. Donald Trump, I know that you have some exciting things up your sleeve that you're not quite at liberty to reveal yet, but can you give us a little teaser?
Well, I have been wanting for many years to design a deck of cards. And I finally have designed the deck of cards and have found out that it's way more complicated. I mean, it's just a different business than doing readings. I mean, readings is a counseling business and producing a product is totally different. And I've been advised that I have to get copyrights and trademarks and stuff like that. So, and part of the reason for that is that it's a deck of cards really designed for people to use for reading for themselves, and it has some special aspects to it. So, but how to shift your energy, because people don't tend to get readings unless they're worried about something, and so then the worry gets in the way of solving the problem, and so this will help with working with the worry.
Okay,
and so that's my own unique little wrinkle after years of working with cards.
So. Okay, and you and I both know that when we're doing readings, we're getting information from the collective unconscious, and that nothing we do or say should take the place of a person's free will and common sense. But we can certainly give guidance and advice and have access to information that they might not have access to, just because of the nature of our work. So, in the last couple of weeks since the election results, there has been a change of mood in our country. And I think it's interesting to take a look at some factors that make a person who they are. And I'm going to ask you to take the ball from here. And I have some things that I will be sharing as you ask me to. I'll be sharing them with the viewers.
Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is act as if I was meeting Donald Trump at a party, because as you said, I do parties and I really love doing parties. So at a party, you would see me with my deck of tarot cards on a ring, because I'm walking around a cocktail party, talking to people, and I'm sharing things that are not going to embarrass. They're not so personal. Usually people would go, yeah, that's just like how that person is, and they joke. I mean, because it's a cocktail party, and
right.
And it's a good way to have people interact with people. So, Donald Trump might be a little touchy. If I met Donald Trump at a party, given the way he's responded on Twitter and stuff like that, and I'm with a group of friends, I would go like, nah, I hope that he's not going to take his drink and throw it at me or something like that.
So you would be gentle and discreet.
Anyway, what I would do I would say, I'm doing numerology. Would you like me to do your numbers? And if he said graciously, sure, I'd like you to do my numbers, he'd give me his birthday, which is June 14th, 1946. And then I would say, do you know that Pythagoras, Mr. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, was a great mathematician, but he was also a mystic. And this is the mystical side of numbers. It's qualities of numbers, not quantity of numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add your birth date up all to a double-digit number and a single-digit number, and then I'm going to go to the tarot deck and tell you which cards fit you. So I would add all the numbers together, and I would come up with a 4. Remember I said a single-digit number?
Correct.
So this number 4 is the Emperor, and if you'll hold up the card that I sent you that has the Emperor on it, and I've got it, but it's probably blurry for me. And the Emperor, people who are 4s are very logical. They like to do things step by step by step. And they are like to be in charge, like emperors like to be in charge. So, I wouldn't have to be a tarot card reader or a numerologist to tell Donald Trump that he likes to be in charge, because I'm sure he would be agreeing with me that, yep, that's absolutely the case, that you like to be in charge. Now, the thing that I think is kind of fun to come up with is the next card that you have is the Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups, why I say now is we all have, I certainly have my questions about Donald Trump and his sort of how he goes off the handle sometimes. And so, like, what's he going to be if we go into a huge world crisis? How is he going to handle a huge world crisis? Well, the Page of Cups is very interesting because my experience in talking to because I've done so many parties, I've probably talked to 3,000 people. And so out of that, there are a whole lot of 404s, because the higher number for him is 40, 40. And I could do the math for you, but whatever, we don't need to do that right now. So notice in this card, it's water. Notice the water in the background is calm. See how the water's calm in the background? And she is looking like she's looking nose to nose with what's in the water. So my experience of people who are 404s is that when there is a crisis, they get calm, and other people depend upon them to be calm. I don't know that we've seen this yet, but I've had an experience, it's indelibly imprinted in my mind, of a couple from England. They were at somebody's birthday party and they were there. And I was talking to the two of them because, as I said, I talk and banter among people. And I was saying that you were calm, and the wife was going, you got to, that's ridiculous. He's not calm all the time. And then I said, no, I want to make it clear when you're calm. When there is a crisis, you become calm. And then she got absolutely serious and absolutely agreed with me that I was on target. Because seldom do people really, it's a party, it's lighthearted. People don't really come against me saying that's really not true what you're saying, sort of thing. And this wife was really saying, what you were telling me is not true about my husband. But then when I shifted it to crisis, she said, absolutely so. So I think that that's a fairly interesting thing and I would be fascinated to see how Donald Trump would respond to that. Obviously in a social setting, who knows? But
okay, well, let's hope that's
quite interesting information.
Good. Let's hope that is accurate. And the next one?
The next one is the 22nd card in the deck of tarot cards, because the master number of 4 is 22. And that card, I put a little angle on the paper. It's the only one that I put at the angle because the card is the Fool. And the Fool to me is an absolutely wonderful card because the master number of 4 is this person who has an enormous amount of faith. If you look at that picture, the Fool is walking to the edge of the cliff and there's nothing there. But the Fool is not biting his fingernails, or his little dog is with him and he looks very happy, and it's sort of like, I do not know what's ahead, but everything is going to be fine. I actually have something I called the Fool's Prayer. And that is when you've come to the end of all the light you have known, you're about to step off into the darkness of the unknown, step off. One of the things, faith is knowing, one of two things will surely happen. There will be something solid to stand on, or you will be taught to fly. I tend to think that Donald Trump is the kind of person who, you know, when they talk about he doesn't have plans, he doesn't have plans, but if you said to him, are you going to be able to pull this off? He always says, there's going to be something solid to stand on, or I'm going to take flight. So
Okay.
I think the master number of 4 fits him, although it is not one of his numbers. His birthday doesn't add up to 22, but I think the master number fits him.
Okay.
Okay, so then I would, if he were engaged, I would go, so what's ahead? When I do parties at this time of the year, people are now thinking about the transition. What's going to happen new in 2017? So now we have the Magician as the next card because it's a number 1. The number 2017 adds to 10. 7 and 1 is 8, and 2 is 10. And 10 is a 1. So next year, 2017, is a new beginnings year. So certainly
For everyone, Hattie?
Pardon?
New beginning year for everyone?
For
Or
everyone.
for Donald?
2017, add unto itself
Oh, okay.
is a new beginning year. Your individual number will vary according to your birth date.
Correct.
But the universal year for 2017 is a number 1 year. And I think that certainly fits with world politics, that it's going to be a number 1 year.
Okay.
So now, then I would say, then I'd get to a card that Donald Trump might find a little touchy, because actually if I take his birthday and add 2017, if I take June 14th and add it to 2017, I get 57. And 57 is not one of the prettier cards in the deck of cards. I mean, it's like that, you know, these swords are in the heart. It has some redeeming value. I mean, when I get it in a reading, and it's a very important card in my chart, my astrology chart, so I pay a lot of attention to cards that make sense to, you know, that relate to me. Notice the heart is perfectly intact.
Yeah.
Even though the swords are, and there's rain and there's clouds, but the heart is perfectly intact. I believe that no one has a life that doesn't have some swords and clouds and rain in it, and hearts are enormously resilient. I do think this portends that he is certainly not going to have an easy time of it in the next year. It's new beginnings, so he's got some. The red carpet will be rolled out for doing new beginnings, but it's not. I don't see it being an easy path. And then the 3 is energy, because it was 57. 5 7 is 11. And the 3 is the Empress. And the Empress is she's about abundance. She's about flowering. She's about blossom. So that's where that is. I see we took a bunch of time doing that, but I hope you found that interesting.
Absolutely fascinating. And we have about 10 minutes left, so we can go in any direction that you would like.
Yeah. So I want to jump. I was going to do 3 things, like that if he then said to me, well, that's very interesting. Tell me about this hard year. What can you tell me about this hard year? And I'd say, well, you know, I need my astrology tools to help me understand things better. And one of the things that I did in preparing for this was to look at the world chart on New Year's Eve at 12 o'clock in Greenwich. You don't have that. I just decided we wouldn't take the time to show it. But the way that chart is almost every planet. This is Greenwich, England at 12 o'clock on New Year's Eve. Okay. Almost every planet is at the bottom of the chart. It means so much coming down the pike in this coming year is going to be happening beneath the surface. I just think this whole thing that when they talk about how he's going to lock the press out and all, it's just an awful lot is going to go beneath the surface, except there's only one planet above the horizon, and that one planet is the planet of surprises. And it's in the house of relationships. So I think that we're going to see on both sides of the controversies that are going on surprising alliances. I think we're going to find people who are opposing him will draw people together who are not natural allies. He, on the other hand, will, at a world level, be making alliances with people, or they'll be just, I mean, it'll be jaw-dropping, I suspect, because it is so stark in that chart.
Okay.
So then if he were coming to me and he were saying to me, what can you tell me about my astrology chart that could help me be a better leader? I mean, I don't know that he'd ever come to me to ask about being, I'm not sure, but.
You never know. Expect the unexpected, Hattie.
We'll guess. We'll pretend. So if you hold up his chart, and I'm holding up his chart too.
Okay.
But I can see, I have to put it in front of my face in order for
Well, that's okay. I have it.
Yeah.
I have a close-up of it.
If I fold the piece of paper, you see, remember when I talked about the below the horizon? Now there's the north-south axis. And if I fold the paper, almost everything is over on the right side of the paper, and there's only one thing over on the left side of the paper. When a planet stands alone in a whole sector of a chart, it takes on more importance because it has to carry the whole side. Now, one of the things we would see, you know how Donald Trump says he can make a difference in all sorts of things. He's very referencing in he can carry things, he can change the world. Well, it totally makes sense that he would say something like that because someone who has all their planets over on the left side of the chart is very good at interfacing with the world. So even though he has all those advisors.
Wait a minute, can I ask you something? Yeah. I'm confused because you're saying that all of his things are on the right side of the chart.
I'm sorry, I'm calling it because I'm turning the paper.
Got it.
It's my, thank you very much.
I'm confused.
If you're looking at it, it's my bad.
Okay.
I goofed. It's all over the left side of the paper.
Okay.
And so
it's just the perception.
I've highlighted the sun and the moon in his chart because I'm going to just take down and have just that one. That's the one you have. And he was born on a full moon. And when you were born on a full moon, it wasn't quite exact, but it was close enough that it was in the cycle of the moon that it was full. So that means that anyone who's born on the full moon will have some issues about between their masculine side and their feminine side. And the sun is usually much more important in a chart. But remember, he's got this moon that's a singleton on a whole side of the chart. So his moon takes on, he's got a really strong moon. So I'm going to come up with some other famous people who would relate to I'm going to give you some Geminis because when he was born, the sun was in Gemini and the sun is masculine. The moon was in Sagittarius because the moon is feminine. So I'm going to give you four famous Gemini men and 4 famous Sagittarius women. And I'm going to have people think about funny ways that you could talk about how these people would get along.
Okay,
So,
and we have 5 minutes, Hattie, just to let
we
you
got
know.
5 minutes, so I'll give you these
Perfect.
people, and then I'll leave it to it's sort of a fun, people can do it as like, you can be in the shower going, how would they get along? So the 4 men are John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, Prince, and Ian Fleming. Ian Fleming wrote all this 007
stuff, James
books.
Bond, okay.
The women are Jane Fonda, Bette Midler, Miley Cyrus, and Britney Spears. So how would you merge those 2 energies, or how would you empower those women to be really strong? That's, how could those men, what would Clint Eastwood have to say to Jane Fonda to have her be stronger? I mean, she's a pretty strong woman, but what would he say to Bette Midler, Miley Cyrus, or Britney Spears? That's a kind of way of thinking about internally. He's got to navigate bringing this Gemini masculine energy together with this Sagittarian female energy. And I have on my website, if people sign up for my newsletter, I have a whole thing that shows every full moon for the coming year.
Okay, and it's a free website.
It's free,
newsletter.
And it will have, like, every month there'll be a quiz, like how would these famous people get influence one another? And if we only had 5 minutes, we probably don't have very many minutes left now.
We have a couple, and I have to say, I always look forward to your little emails that I get. There's always something surprising and amusing and eye-opening in them. Yeah, we have 2 minutes, Hattie.
Okay, so do you have any thoughts about, like, what would John Wayne to say to Jane Fonda to empower her?
I can't even imagine, just because I know him as a character in the movies and not the man, because that's who was presented to us, this sort of tough guy on the outside but had a soft side on the inside. So I think he might be very protective of her, but he might encourage her to use her own strength and not count on the men around her. So I'm not sure. It's not anything I'd ever thought about, to be
Of course
frank.
you didn't. I mean, it's totally meant to, because I think we are going to be challenged to expect the unexpected alliances. We're all going to be confronted with interacting probably with people that we never thought we were going to be interacting with.
Well, I'm very hopeful, and this is probably the first time I've seen any kind of hopefulness or promise. And, as I said, the kind of work we do does not take the place of one's free will or common sense, but it certainly is eye-opening. And when you are finished with your project, will you come back and share it with the viewers here?
I'd be delighted. Absolutely.
Okay. And we will stay in touch, and it'll be interesting to see what comes of all of this as the new year unfolds. And people will have a way to reach you through your website and email and phone number. We'll be sharing that. But we've had a little bit of snow up here, as I've said, and I can tell that you're just enjoying and basking in the warmth of Florida. So thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule, sharing your expertise. And as always, it's great to see you and to speak with you.
Great to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hattie. And thanks for joining us on The Sacred Journey. We'll catch you next time.